Good morning and welcome to a Wednesday edition of Breakfast Central. Thank you for starting your day with us. We hope that you've had a good week so far and you're geared up for a very interesting day. Lots and lots have been happening. I'm wearing green in celebration of the National Unity Fabric, which we'll be sharing with you shortly, and we hope that you've gotten your own Ashwebi in celebration of our national unity. I am Olive Emodi, and thank you for joining us.
And I am Osaogi Ogbon. Welcome to Breakfast Central on a Wednesday morning. As always, we encourage you to be a part of the conversation. If you're watching on YouTube, we always love to read your comments, even those that might be a little critical of what we do. We love to read those comments, so please share your views with us on our YouTube channel, or simply tweet at us this morning at News Central TV on all social media platforms, and we would love to hear from you. Be a part of the conversation that we're having, and of course, once again, thank you for joining us. Yes, we have a lot to talk about this morning on Breakfast Central. But of course, kicking off the story with the National Unity Fabric, which was launched yesterday by the wife of Mr. President, Senator Remi Tinubu. Of course, she said that she was inspired, after her visit to, I think, Zimbabwe or Mozambique, where she said that she had seen that they had their own fabric, and so she thought that it would be nice to also launch a unity fabric for us here in Nigeria. And so, yes, those are the pictures of the unity fabric right there on your screen. And I think Nigerians are excited. Olive?
Yeah, it's such exciting news. The background, of course, started in December 2023 when she visited Zimbabwe for the launch of the hashtag We Are Equal unifying campaign of the Organization of African First Ladies for Development. And on this visit, she came across the concept of a national fabric, which she says has fascinated her. She believes that this concept is a unifying one, where we can infuse our cultural diversity and break down tribal barriers to identify as a people of one nation. So she decided that it would definitely be a good experience to have a similar one. So now we have the One Nigeria Unity Fabric. Now, there was a competition. There was a panel of judges. There was a renowned fashion icon, Princess Zainab Abba Folawiyo, which we all know. There's international textile fashion designer, Ms. Banke Kuku, and other friends of the Renewed Hope Initiative, who selected the best design from 111 entries that were sent in. And of the 111 entries, there was a winner, the announcement of the winner of the competition, and the presentation of the prize ceremony. The winner was Bamidele Mofuyinfoluwa, and she did quite a fantastic job, they said. So congratulations to Bamidele Mofuyinfoluwa, who's a 25-year-old graduate of the University of Ibadan. She went home with a prize money of 25 million naira, and she emerged the winner of a fabric design competition organized by the Renewed Hope Initiative. And whilst this might be a very interesting, we are an Ashwebi generation, we understand the concept of Ashwebi. For our non-Nigerian audience, the concept of the Ashwebi is something that is like, Ashwebi literally is interpreted to mean the cloth for the family. So when you go to a wedding, or you go to a burial, or you go to a typical traditional celebration in Nigeria, you can easily identify people that are familiar with whoever the celebrants are because of the fabric. So typically with the males, you see maybe family of the groom will wear a certain fabric, certain ashwebi, family of the bride will wear certain ashwebi. And yes, it brings together this spirit of oneness or feeling like I belong. However, I do think that our problem or our challenges with disunity goes beyond ashwebi. We have a lot of bigger issues to crack when it comes to dealing with disunity in Nigeria, especially because certain people, even the First Lady, has been criticized about making certain statements, that have not in a way fostered unity. During the elections, we saw how political office holders and even random people made certain comments that the police referred to as joke. We remember the MC Oluomo comment and nothing was done about it. And it was taken as something that wasn't that much of a big deal. Very recently, Lagospedia put out the tweet against Ndigbo. And they, of course, dissociated themselves. Lagos State government dissociated themselves from that tweet. But till today, nothing was done. So if we're really going to deal with the problem of disunity, if we're going to really have a united Nigeria, our challenges are far beyond an Ashwebi or a one unity fabric. We need to go to dig deeper to the issues, to arrest people that make insightful statements against one tribe or another tribe, to ensure that these people who make hate speeches are made to face the law, to show people that there are dire consequences for making certain statements. I've not been to Rwanda, but I heard that if you go to Rwanda and you ask a Rwandese, ask someone there that, oh, where are you from? That they consider it an offense, especially because of what they've been through, from the genocide, having recovered, gone through the journey with the influence of Paul Kagame. And they are now like they're one country, it's one Rwanda. So we need to get to that point where we go to the main issues that dig deep at the fabric of our bigotry, the issues that cause us to see each other as very, very different. And I do not know if a fabric can bring us back together. But congratulations to Bamdele Mofoyinfoluwa on winning the grand sum of 25 million naira. I'm hoping that she can put it to good use.
Yeah, I mean, I also do not want to believe that, the First Lady and, of course, everyone else who was a part of that, really believes that the fabric will bring unity. I don't think that they, genuinely believe that. I think, they see it as, a good thing to
have.
It's a good thing to have, but, it's definitely not meant to bring unity. And I remember that when the new national anthem, or when the national anthem was changed, many people were also very critical of, President Bola Tinubu and the decision to change the national anthem, because the reason, once again, was that it would unite Nigerians and it would inspire Nigerians and some of all of that. And it's pretty much the same reaction that this has gotten, because people, are once again asking, how does this in any way unite or inspire Nigerians? And it's the same reaction as well, towards the national anthem. People, over time have completely, ignored, that the whole idea of a new national anthem. It has not been celebrated. Nobody has been proud to sing that national anthem because, like you've mentioned, the things that divide Nigerians aren't because we don't have an interest national anthem or a good fabric. There have been, many, many years of political divisions that, of course, have driven tribalism and bigotry across Nigeria that have been the cause of our divisions. It's not because we don't have a nice fabric, and fabric is not going to change that. So I don't want to believe that that they genuinely believe that the fabric will bring, but of course it's maybe a good reason to bring about fabric. Another thing, and of course, I sometimes don't always want to sound too critical of the government. I want to always give them a benefit of doubt, and say, okay, I mean, it's not everything you complain about. Some things are actually good, but even in these moments, right, you can't help but ask yourself, why? Who asked for this? And if you look at the current reality across Nigeria, if you heard when Amina, I believe, called in from Kaduna yesterday,
yes,
complaining bitterly
voice,
about
yes,
what her reality was as a parent and as a Nigerian generally. She is a proper example of what almost every Nigerian is facing at this point, no matter what income bracket that you fall under. Every single person is groaning, and it's not. I wouldn't say it's okay to be suffering, but I think if Nigerians believe that they are suffering for a little while, but they can see the light at the end of the tunnel. They can see that there's some direction. They can see that, okay, there's really somewhere that we're going, and after a while, maybe a couple of years, we will start to reap these benefits. If Nigerians have been able to hear from Mr. President, hear from this administration, hear what their plans are, and say, okay, yes, we genuinely believe and trust in where we're going, then maybe the pains that we're currently dealing with wouldn't be so bad. But unfortunately, that doesn't seem to be the case. Unfortunately, many Nigerians, I believe, if you ask the next 10 people that you meet, many of them will tell you pretty much the same thing, that we don't seem to know where we are going. And some of the plans of the current administration have brought nothing but more pain to Nigerians without any clear pathway towards, prosperity in any way. The idea of the Dangote refinery, which if you remember the Buhari administration, they kept on saying, that one that it launches, it's going to ease the petrol supply across the country. It's going to reduce the price of petrol and some of all those things. Eventually, Nigerians got to find out that that's what wasn't going to happen. Dangote is eventually going to sell petrol even higher than we were buying petrol before. So that has not brought any comfort to the average Nigerian. Our refineries, Buhari administration took up the Port Harcourt refinery and promised that they were going to fix it. They continued to shift. 2019 was their last promise. Eventually, that passed. It didn't happen. We're in 2024 now. The Port Harcourt refinery is still not active, and many people will tell you that refinery would
probably
never
kick off before
come
December.
back to life. So there is no clear direction as to where we're going. When you ask them, the things that they will once again point out is that, oh, we ended subsidy, oh, we, school,
The student loan.
The student loan.
Has
Thank you
kicked
very
off.
much. And those are almost the only two things that they would always point out that, these are the things that we have achieved. And we're moving in the right
Let me play
direction.
devil's advocate as well. I think in fairness, I can see, so the One Unity Fabric by itself might not be an entirely bad project. I think the issues against it is one, the timing. It's a very sensitive time for Nigerians, right? People are hungry, can't afford to feed. It is the people that will feed, first of all, that will talk about wearing the outfits on the 1st of October. The sense that I maybe can see to the fabric is if we had a thriving tourism sector, if we had a thriving tourism sector, this fabric would have been a big deal that people would come to Nigeria the same way that we travel to Ghana and we have the kente, you go to different parts of the country or different parts of Africa or the world, and there are certain fabrics you wear, like when you go to, automatically when I see an outfit from Ethiopia, I already know that this is an Ethiopian fabric. Once you see the kente, you know of Ghana. It would have been a brilliant idea because we have multiple cultures, multiple ethnicities in Nigeria. So to have one that is the official one that anyone who wears this is referred to as, oh, this is a Nigerian fabric, right? However, again, I must say that the timing isn't quite right because now it's a very sensitive time for Nigerians. And I know that people would say, oh, but the poor will always be amongst you, like the Holy Book says. There would never be a perfect time. There could be a much more sensitive time because I don't think that our country has seen as hard a time as we've seen in the past year. So it's not to say that everything that the presidency does or the current administration we're looking for fault. It's just we're trying to understand or to reiterate that it's important that an important hallmark of leadership is sensitivity to the needs of the people and not making it feel like, oh, because some of the reactions I've seen is she has launched One Unity Fabric for the elite to wear on the 1st of October while the rest of the masses can die in hunger. That's
because
the
again,
sentiment that people feel.
And this point you've made now about timing is very true. This is not the time to be having conversation about Unity Fabric because right now, Nigerians are hungry. Nigerians are going through the worst economic realities that they've ever been through. This is not the time.
The good thing, however, is Bamidele has gotten herself the sum of 25 million naira, and I'm hoping she puts it to good use. Someone had made reference to some of the work that we don't have an office of the First Lady, but the wife of the President, Nigeria's First Lady, whether we like it or not, has done in the past time, and they talked about her donating 1 billion to support fight against tuberculosis, giving 1.85 billion naira business recapitalization grant to 37,000 female teachers nationwide, launching the Young Farmers Club, which was highly criticized because of some of the statements that were made, and then unveiling 200 scholarship beneficiaries. So yes, not to say that it's all doom and gloom, right? It's just we're taking issues per time. But congratulations to us on our One Unity Fabric. I'm hoping in the next few months we'll have less challenges with insecurity and can find a way to make the best. I'm hoping that, the tourism sector can find a way to capitalize on this and make it an export, But we'll talk more about this much later. Let's share with you what our headlines are, our top stories are, before we bring you breakfast headlines. Parents protest boarding schools hike in Lagos. It's been increased from 35,000 naira to 100,000 naira. Julius Abure, no longer Labour Party chairman, according to INEC. Does his fight come to an end? We'll find out. And also, Abuja residents worry about earth tremors. We'll be bringing you a report on that as well this morning. And we have which way Nigeria, of course, will be asking some very tough questions that need answers. And we'll be reviewing the newspaper front pages with our analysts and with you when we open the phone lines. But now let's bring you breakfast headlines. Residents of Mpape in the Buari Area Council of Nigeria's Federal Capital Territory say that they have been gripped by fear following a series of earth tremors that rocked the area for the last 3 consecutive days. Some of them say that the incidents, which started on Saturday, had become a cause for worry as buildings within the area experienced vibrations during the tremors. News Central's Joshua Imarai tells us more.
Mpape community is located at the Buari Area Council of Abuja. The community, which is located on a rocky terrain and surrounded by metamorphic rocks, has experienced earth tremors since Saturday a situation that continued into the early hours of Tuesday.
We really surprised what happened yesterday, I'm telling you. Because the way the ground even sick, we think say Abuja won't collapse. That's what we were experiencing yesterday, honestly. Like 2 times, the thing do like that for the Papi here.
This ground shaking, it has happened before. So even if we had cream for ground, it's normal. Maybe it's an outsider that company will be afraid of it. It's normal.
The district head of the area says the tremors are not new as the community has experienced similar incidents in the past.
This thing had happened before, about 5 years ago. The same thing happened this year, where we had it yesterday. That time it happened, government sent some officials to check the area, to know what is going on there. And I seen that the same thing, government will send people to know what is going on there. Because formally it's not happened. Last 5 years ago, it never happened here. And this year again, it happened. That time, it shake. Everybody's aware. Government they have to send the agents to come down here and check the area. They didn't say anything, but they observe everything what is going on there. They didn't give all feedback.
The tremors being witnessed in Papi and surrounding FCT areas have put many residents on edge. Some of them are calling on authorities of the FCT administration to swiftly intervene and prevent a much larger disaster. In Abuja for News Central, I am Joshua Imarayi.
Well, that's a quite unsettling update there, but we do hope that all is well, and we hope not to have any further complications regarding that. Let's move away from Abuja to Lagos. The Lagos State government has reaffirmed its decision to increase boarding fees in its model colleges, citing the need to ensure better welfare for students. According to Mr. Ganiu Lawal, Deputy Director of Public Affairs, Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education, the current 35,000 naira boarding fee unchanged since 2021 is no longer realistic in 2024.
The new boarding fee, set at 100,000 naira per session, will take effect from the 2024-2025 session, which began on September 15, 2024. Lawal explained that the fee covers feeding, janitorial services, and other miscellaneous costs, with the government shouldering energy costs for fuel and cooking gas. The government provides free education to students in 1,021 primary schools, 369 junior secondary schools, and 329 senior secondary schools, including 32 model colleges across the state. However, parents are expected to pay boarding fees since enrolling their children in boarding schools is an individual choice. Now, joining us is education consultant and president of Issa School of Education, Dr. Joy Issa. Good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
All right. Let's first of all just get your broad reaction on the increment, 35,000 naira to 100,000 naira. Do you think that these parents are within their rights to protest and to complain about this?
Oh, absolutely. Every parent has a choice. And if you look at the fact that minimum wage was only just reviewed to 70,000 naira in May, you then empathize with the parents to say, okay, if I'm a parent on minimum wage, my salary has just been reviewed to 70,000 naira, 75, 80, and my child has been in a government school, in a model college, to say, okay, I want to provide a good type of education to my child. All of a sudden, I have to cough out or cough up 100,000 naira, which is about, let's say about 30, 32, 33 every month set aside. What happened to the salary review? Suddenly gone. Meanwhile, inflation has doubled between the 2021 he referenced and 2024. So realistically, parents cannot take this. This is a very hard pill to swallow for parents in Lagos State. It's very, very hard. We're not disagreeing with the government stance to say, look, inflation is doubled. We can no longer support the children. But I must, refer to your previous news item on the fabric, on certain things that kind of make these things even harder to swallow. if we can invest that amount of money in something that is not necessarily a priority when we have hunger in the land, why can we not invest in the next generation? Why can the government not fully subsidize education by sustaining the 35,000 naira in an attempt to alleviate the parents' challenge? What's the point of giving out bags of rice and little things when the children can't go to school? That's it's hard to talk about it because the reality is stark. We spend money on things that are relatively important. Yet the future of our generation, the future of this country, we do not pay attention to. Our children are the future of this country. How can we not support the parents? How can we not, alleviate the challenges parents are facing right now to ensure that these children go to school? I really find it difficult to understand. So I'm on the side of the parents here to say, government, you can provide additional subsidy. By the way, inflation rates have doubled, right? Why is the fee increase 3 times, almost 3 times? So again, you now wonder, okay, is this based on inflation or what is going on?
Is it maybe, an argument? Because what we have seen, some of the arguments we've seen would be that this is mainly for the boarding students, and that if parents realize that it was too expensive for them to have their kids in boarding school, that they can have access to all the other benefits that the day students have for free, which is, free education and all the like. So is that maybe an argument that can hold some water, that at least it's a boarding house, if it's not comfortable, have your kids in the day school?
Oh yeah, it's a choice, right? Parents have a choice. But put yourself in the shoes of a parent. You have to work certain kinds of jobs. And so you put your children in boarding school so that they're safeguarding, so that they're not home alone. Because we understand that when children are left unsupervised, they can get up to no good. They are more open to predators and things like that. So for a parent to opt to place their child in a boarding school, there are multiple reasons. Safeguarding, yes. You want closer supervision. You believe your child needs to be in a more secure environment, a more enclosed environment where, they can focus on their studies. Yes, it is optional for parents. And you will find that more parents will probably step away from this and say, look, we can no longer afford, boarding school, so our children are going to be at home. Is this what we want, really, as a nation? Is this what we want? Is this the challenge, we want to be faced with? It is optional, but I do feel that government is able to help, to subsidize. We give out, I noticed on the news the other day, we were giving out palliatives. We were giving out little things, giving out rice, oil, and it just baffles me. We need to focus on our focus. We need to prioritize the things that are important. Education is a priority, and subsidizing the education of our children is helpful. Honestly, I think it may be useful. Sorry, I'm so sorry. I see you're trying to say something, but I just want to make one more point.
Yeah, go
I think
ahead.
it may be useful for us to dimension this and say, who are the parents that are subscribing to boarding in the public school system? Because look at it realistically. Split the previous 35,000 across 3 months, which is the average length of a term, and across 30 days, it's like 380 naira a day to feed a child. So I want to speak a little bit from the government side. Say it's not realistic to continue to feed a child. Nobody can be fed on 380 naira a day. That's just the truth. So now it's gone up and it comes to about 1,000, 1,100 per day. Again, that's still a tall order. So yes, you can see it from the government's standpoint to say it's not realistic for us to continue to do this. Are we going to head to a space where the government is saying we shut down boarding schools? I guess that's up to the minister or the deputy director and the leaders in the Ministry of Education to decide.
I mean, part of the criticism that the parents, the president of the Parents Forum had said, I mean, I'm just responding to the math that we've just done regarding how much it will cost to feed a parent. He had said before now it was 35 million naira to approximately 1,000 students. So if they have 1,000 students, now it would mean 100 million. And part of the arguments that the parents have put against this is you're not buying these foods to make profit. You're not a fast food or a restaurant. You're buying food in bulk. So are we going to really say that we're using 100 million naira to feed 1,000 students in 3 months? So I think these are part of the arguments that have been leveled against the government. But I think another area that we haven't quite looked at is the way and manner this increment has occurred. The letter, according to the Parents Forum, was dated on the 14th of September. Resumption was slated to be on the 15th of September. Is that in any way, shape, or form how increment notices should be given to parents? Shouldn't they have enough time to have planned themselves and maybe decide if they wanted to pull out their kids and take to other schools? You know, how best should the government have done it, if at all it was to be an option on the table?
I think that really is what caused the agitation. Telling me the day before that I have to produce 3 times the amount of money I used to spend to send my child to school the day before is just insensitive. That's the most polite way to share that. It's insensitive. And of course, I am so proud of our parents for standing up to this and saying, no, this is unacceptable. You cannot do this to us. The challenge now becomes, you know, the challenge now falls on the school administrators who will be forced to send some children home because certain monies haven't been paid. So again, look at the impact on the children. So they go to school, you know, and then in another week or two, children will be sent back. Oh, your parents haven't paid. You know, imagine that trauma. Imagine that, you know, imagine that inconsistency in terms of quality education. So come on. The plan, nobody just woke up to say, oh, we're going to increase fees tomorrow. This was pre-planned. How can you just wake up and tell parents the night before, 2 nights before, oh, by the way, when you're taking Joy to school, bring 3 times what you used before? It's just unacceptable. So I celebrate the parents for standing up and exercising human rights, you know, to say, no, government, you can do better than this. This is unacceptable. If this was pre-information, I mean, to respond to your question that says, how could government have done this? Is it possible that this information should have been given out and parents have this term 1, to begin to save, to begin to make the adjustments, to begin to make an informed decision, to say, can I continue? Do I need to save? Do we need to go to our village council and say, okay, everybody in our community, can we all donate for the children who are going to boarding? We used to have the crowdfunding things, you know, in the old days in the communities where people come together and send children to school. So can we go back to that where we begin to support each other? But we need time to organize all these things. So honestly, it really was insensitive. And I think the government really should step back from this decision, even if it's for 1 term. Allow parents time to make an informed decision and say, going forward, I don't think I want my child in boarding school, or okay, I will be able to save and keep my child in boarding school.
All right, I want to play devil's advocate. Can the government argue that it is already carrying a lot of weight? The government, of course, you know, according to the story, already provides free education for 1,021 primary school, 369 junior secondary school, and 329 senior secondary school students, including 32 model colleges across the state. The government, of course, you know, covers all of that. What they're simply asking is that you pay, you know, a little higher for, maybe not a little higher, but pay higher for your boarding school fees. And it's not just for their feeding. It's also, of course, the janitorial services and a couple of other things, you know, that are covered in that wage. So can that be the government's argument that economic realities, of course, across Nigeria show that the cost of goods and services have increased generally? And so, you know, can they, I mean, they can't continue to subsidize, after providing free education, to continue to subsidize, you know, boarding school fees, you know, even in 2024. Can that be a fair argument from the government side?
It is a fair argument, absolutely. All we are saying is pull the stakeholders into the room. You don't just make a decision like that arbitrarily, and you do not involve the key stakeholders. The parents are the ones paying these additional fees. A conversation, with the the executive of the parent association. This is what we're doing. This is where we're going. We're no longer able to make this provision. Having said that, there are over 20,000 private schools in Lagos. So the government is not able to provide for all our children in Lagos State. That is the truth. Without the private sector, most of our children in Lagos State will not be in school. Private schools are not free. Parents have to pay. So the parents who opt to go to the public schools, a lot of them appreciate the service and appreciate the fact that they do not have to pay for the service. So we're not discounting the good work that the government is doing. The government has put energy and effort. All we are saying is, like you said before, the timing. How can you not give people enough notice? There are so many schools, private schools, by the way, there are a number, not so many, sorry, that have had to shut down because of the economic realities you reference. They're no longer able to run the generators, they're no longer able to do their feeding programs, nothing. I personally am aware of 5 schools within the Etiosa local government area that have shut down in the last year alone, 5, because they're not able to continue. For a government that is collecting taxes, by the way, because Lagos State is one of the states that collects the most taxes, we are all paying our taxes, why can you not subsidize education for our children? Yes, you have subsidized to a certain extent. You cannot subsidize rice. Are you going to, reduce the quality of the rice? You can't subsidize tomatoes. You can't subsidize meat, as it were. Like you can't reduce the quality of the rice. Rice is rice. The cost of rice has increased. Yes, the cost of oil has increased. Absolutely. So government, you are carrying load. Can we not collaborate? A democracy involves collaboration. A democracy involves communication with stakeholders. This, honestly, is like the decision of dictators telling you, this is it, shut down, no conversation. And this is not how our democracy is being run. So if we are truly in a democratic situation, then conversations should be had with stakeholders so that we don't end up, this should not really be prime news. We should be talking about how to improve quality of education, how to, support the teachers. By the way, some of these parents are teachers. So now I'm a teacher in a school. I put my children in boarding school so that I can pay attention to delivering quality. I'm on minimum wage. If I'm on NCE level, my salary is barely 50,000 naira, it's about 49. And where am I supposed to go and get this extra money from? It's
It
just
must
the
be tough, and
reality.
of course, the families that have more than one child, so it may not just be, 35 or 100,000 you're talking about now. If you have to pay for 2, 3 children, that's a lot of money, and I totally agree. Well, can you, what is the average, and just on the side, what is the average boarding school fees for a private school here in Lagos?
Oh, average is a relative term. It depends on the area, you are in Lagos. So you have high-end private schools that will take about 8 million naira a year now, and you have the lower-end private schools that will take about 300,000, 300 is the minimum so far per term for boarding private schools.
Per term?
Yes, per term in Lagos State, boarding. So day schools are cheaper, yes. So I remember when my children were younger, I have adult children, and I remember I was working in a private school at the time. And so as a teacher in a private school, we only paid about 30% for tuition, etc. So I wanted my son to go to the boarding school that was just opened up. And of course, in my usual manner, I went to accounts to ask for a discount. And the conversation was, are we supposed to discount the amount of food he eats as opposed to the amount of food the other children eat? Absolutely not. So boarding fees were not discounted for us as educators. Everything else was discounted. So I bring it up, and that's the lens I'm speaking from. So I understand where the government is saying we can no longer subsidize the rice, the oil, etc. All I'm saying is, government, you have funding, you have access. Can you redeploy some funds? Because our children are important. The children are the next generation. We have 50% of our population being under 18. How can we not pay attention to them? On a federal level, on a state level, that is where our subsidy should go to.
Right.
The maximum amount of energy and effort should be put into educating our young people. So take money from somewhere else if you have to, but please support the parents who are making the effort to educate their children. Otherwise, we have more children out of school. We have more young people on our streets, and we know how that ends up.
Right. I mean, the parents aren't the only ones complaining about this. Femi Falana, SAN, has lamented that the increase, being above the minimum wage of 70,000 naira is also illegal, stating that, the government has a duty of providing free education, and he's going to challenge this in court. In fact, last year, there was the announcement of the increase of Federal Unity College's tuition from 45,000 naira to 100,000 naira, and this was also criticized. There was a breakdown of that by, in fact, the breakdown of that boarding fees at the time was 30,000, uniform 25,000 for GS1 and SS1, textbooks 15,000 naira, exercise books 5,000, prospectus, I don't know what that means, 1,000 naira, caution fee 1,000, ID card. Anyway, everything came to 100,000. So the thing is, where are parents supposed to get this money from? Where are guardians? There are people who have people that are sponsoring them, they are not their parents because their parents can't afford to sponsor them. Where are they to get this money from? So I think my question now would be, what are your fears about what the implication of this might mean in the life of children? Because there are children whose parents send them to the boarding house, not necessarily because they want to, but they can't, there's no other option for them. They have to be in the boarding house. We have over 18 million out-of-school children now. So I don't know, what would you say your fears are as to what this might mean for our children and for the education sector?
Number one, that 18 million potentially could double. That's my number one fear, that the number of children out of school, the number of young people who we, as we say fondly in Lagos, become agberos, will increase. Why do we have to put ourselves in this situation? Why? Why do we have to the prioritization of funding just seems a bit askew to me. Yes, the Honorable San is, just helping our cause as educators to make noise about this and to laud it, as we say here, to say, we are in trouble. We are jeopardizing our future by not empowering our children with the education they need. Step back a bit and think about this again from the parent's perspective. So I'm earning minimum wage. I need 2 or 3 jobs to be able to make ends meet. So the father maybe works as a guard overnight, and then during the day, he's working in some, little place. He's trying to pull things together. So the children go to boarding school because, first of all, we all live in maybe a 1-bedroom apartment or a 2-bedroom apartment. There's 6 people. Sending the child, Joy, Jane, to boarding school makes a big difference. There's a positive impact of that. Pulling these children out of school, honestly, my real fear is this: the number of out-of-school children, the number of people that will be on our streets, again, begging, the number of people that can't even fit into the formal employment sector then increases. So we complain about literacy levels, we complain about out-of-school children, yes. We complain about the dearth in formal jobs. Yet we are offering scholarships to a number of children to go to universities. I'm speaking carefully because I'm on 2 minds about that. Basic education should be free. All of basic education should be free. You are subsidizing boarding. Okay, fair point. After we are done with basic education and we cannot progress to formal tertiary education, what are we empowered to do? What has basic education empowered us to do? Basic and secondary education. So at the end of this, do I have the literacy, the numeracy, and the digital competency skills to be able to maybe set up my own little business? I probably don't. I now have to apply for scholarship to go to university, after which I cannot get a formal job. we need to go back to this value chain and see that, look, if we don't pay attention to the foundation, ensure every child has access to good quality education so that they can rise up to be independent entrepreneurs, responsible citizens, we are in trouble.
Yeah,
Our future
it truly
is at stake.
it truly is, you know, it's a messy situation, you know, and of course, you know, we've also continued to have conversations on what even our education budget is nationally. It's still not meeting up with, you know, what the UN quota should be or UNESCO's quota should be and all of that. So it's a mess. But, you know, we would continue these conversations. We hope the Lagos State government is listening and, you know, would, of course, you know, take advice from, you know, everyone who has chipped in here. Thank you very much, Joy Issa, for joining us. We look forward to speaking with you again. Have an amazing day ahead.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. Now, moving away from education, let's talk about elections. The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has declared that Julius Abure's tenure as Labour Party chairman, along with other members of the party's National Working Committee, ended in June 2024, making it illegal for him to continue in the position. Now, INEC stance is in response to a suit filed by the Labour Party challenging its exclusion from the Commission's refresher training for uploading party agents ahead of the Edo and Ondo governorship elections. The electoral body argues that Labour Party's March 2024 National Convention, which re-elected Abure as chairman, contravened the Nigerian Constitution and the Electoral Act.
Meanwhile, Abure has alleged that Senator Ninadi Esther Usman, chairman of the party's caretaker committee, 29-man caretaker committee, is still a member of the People's Democratic Party, PDP. This was the claim that was contained in a statement released on Tuesday by Obiora Ifo, the National Publicity Secretary of the Labour Party. Somewhat drama in the Labour Party, but we're going to look at this development, and joining us is consultant and public affairs analyst Jide Ojo. Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning. It's my pleasure.
All right. We would like to get your thoughts regarding the drama that's been unfolding in the Labour Party. Julius Abure insisting that he's the leader, the party setting up a 29-member caretaker committee to transition its leadership structure. And now Abure insisting and still trying to hold on, even after INEC has disowned him as member. So what are your thoughts about all this drama?
It's quite unfortunate, my dear. Very unfortunate that Labour Party that we saw as alternative platform to producing better governance is enmeshed in this kind of leadership crisis. But it's not something new. Almost all the political parties in Nigeria are involved in one internal crisis or the other, including the All Progressive Congress. Recall the whole drama about Ganduje and his corruption allegations in Kano, and the people of North Central saying it's their turn and all of that. But even PDP, even NMPP, even APGA, almost all the political parties, I dare say, are enmeshed in one party, leadership crisis or the other. And it leaves a sour taste in the mouth, which is why many Nigerians are disenchanted with our political system, and they just don't want to have anything to do with it. Labour Party, again, even before Abure emerged as the national chairman, even under AA Salam, the former national chairman that died in office, AA Salam too was immersed in leadership crisis all through the period he was the national leader. And you find out that maybe it has to do with human thoughts or, inability to just coordinate things. Because I just don't understand. It doesn't sync with me. This is Labour Party that was nearly moribund before Peter Obi came on the platform of that party in May of last year, May 2023, when he defected from PDP. And it was the Peter Obi that actually more or less revived that moribund party. And this whole altercation about your tenure has ended or not, you find out that there are several angles to this whole story. First, the Nigeria Labour Congress said they are the owners of the party because they formed the party. And that the tenure of Abure has ended, and they have stopped to recognize Abure as the national leader of the party. Now, Abure insisted that NLC may have given birth to Labour Party, but nevertheless, Labour Party is an independent arm and it's on its own. But the irony of this whole thing is that you ask yourself, if this is all about service, why are people digging deep? Why are they digging deep? Why are they insisting that they will not leave the stage? Why is all this crisis? There are issues around accountability for the fundings that were realized during the 2023 elections. And you know that Labour Party charged in millions, governorship candidate of the party paid 20 million. And I don't know how much they charge the presidential candidate for nomination and expression of interest fee. But note that all the parties use expression of interest and nomination form as a means of raising funds to run the party. Because when the election is not in sight, you still have to pay rent if you are not the owner of the buildings where you are having your party secretariat. And you are not just going to have only one party national secretariat, you are going to have secretariats across all the states or majority of the states. Some have in local governments and all of that. So it borders on issue around accountability and transparent management of resources. Because I've seen all the altercations from even Abure to the obedient movement, how the money raised by P2B in the lead up to the last presidential election, how it was managed. And that tied in Aisha Yusufu and Pastor Ito Agbodalu, who allegedly managed that fund. But yes, P2B has an independent structure that he used to coordinate the affairs of his campaign outside of the Labour Party structure. And that is very familiar. That's the norm with all the parties. When you run on a party platform, you don't expect the secretariat of the party to also help you to manage your campaign. Right. So many of the aspirants and candidates, go ahead to establish their own independent campaign office. And now there are altercations about the billions that were realized and how this money was managed and whether there was proper account for that funds. But it goes beyond funding. It's about whether the tenure of Abure has actually ended,
right, Mr.
whether
Ojo.
it has not ended. Yes, I'm listening.
Mr. Ojo, just to butt in, I want us to get some clarity on the convention that was held in March that re-elected Julius Abure. INEC, of course, has said that that convention, is null and void. It contravenes the Constitution and the Electoral Act. So tell us about that. What exactly was wrong with the convention? That makes, of course, Julius Abure's re-election as chairman null and void.
So this is it, my brother. The convention does not just hold in isolation. You are supposed to start, there are what is called party congresses. Congresses are supposed to start from ward to local government to state and then to the convention. So you are supposed to have congresses at the lower level before you get to the convention at the national. Now, how did the delegates that went to vote Abure in is it Oka or wherever they had that March convention, how did they emerge? How did because it's not a direct convention in which all the Labour Party members descended on the venue to cast their ballots. There are supposed to be processes and procedure. And usually you find out that in the lead up to any convention, there will have been World Congress, local government Congress, state Congress, and then the party may say those who emerged as the local government executive will form the delegates, or those who emerge at the ward or local government or state congress will form the delegates that will now vote at the convention. Now, all of these processes were circumvented by Abure, and only a handful of people were picked, his loyalists. And as at that time, the Nigerian Labour Congress have already written to INEC to say this man is acting ultra vires. His tenure has already ended, and he does not possess the power that he's trying, because there is supposed to be a convention planning committee. And if you look at that so-called convention, Abure was the sole candidate. How did that happen? How come there were no sales of nomination forms? How come there were no other contestants? How did those who vote at that convention, how did they emerge? Was there an independent party primary? Was there a nomination? Or was it just an affirmation? And you know, even when you look at the provisions of Electoral Act, although this has to do with the emergence of candidates for general elections, it has three different modes of election. It says you either have consensus, direct or indirect primaries. But in this case, because it's an internal party election, there should have been a provision in the electoral guidelines of Labour Party, as well as the provision in the Constitution of Labour Party that will have highlighted how a convention is supposed to be planned, how it's supposed to be executed, who has the power to even plan and execute that. And to the extent that INEC is the one that gives legitimacy to political parties. And INEC in section 225A of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999, as amended, also has the power to deregister any party. That power to give birth and to deregister political party is vested in INEC.
Yeah. And do you see that? Do you see that maybe happening, you know, to the Labour Party? Because it does seem that they don't have their act together. Do you see maybe a risk of that happening if they don't put their house in order?
Well, it may not be that easy. There are provisions in section 225A that, one, you must score certain percentage of votes in an election to remain a party, or you must win at least a ward. You must produce at least a councillor to remain a party. So if you look at the fact that Labour Party has about 34 or 43 members of House of Reps, and they have maybe about 1 or 2 senators. Yes, I know that Senator for FCT and the Senator for Edo South are from Labour Party. They also have a governor in Alex Oti in Abia State. So on those grounds of having elected officials in the national, state, or local government, they already have crossed that hurdle. So they may not be deregistered on that. And I fear that INEC may not even be able to deregister Labour Party in as much as it is not in breach of maybe situations where process of registration is in doubt. So the issue of deregistration is really far from what may happen. But there is a turmoil in the House. And that's why Alex Oti, Peter Obi, and a host of others decided to, as stakeholders in the party, decided to have this 29-man committee to midwife a proper Congress and convention that would lead to credible leadership. Unfortunately, Abure and his members of the National Working Committee are countering that and saying that no, their tenure has not ended, and they came with their own formula. What I see happening, my dear sister and brother, is that this will end up in a protracted litigation. And that is already happening. There are several court cases that are already filed before different courts. And the damage that is doing to the Labour Party brand is that people like Alex Otti may defect from Labour Party. And don't forget, Section 10, the section of the Electoral Act that, the section of the Constitution that forbids people from defecting from one party to the other does not affect executive position. And they know what they suffered to produce that one government. So if the Labour Party does not put its house together and this leadership crisis is unabated, the party stands the risk of losing most of its elected members.
Yeah.
Because the law is very clear. The only basis by which you can defect as an elected parliamentarian or elected member of the Federal or State Assembly, that you can defect from the party that brings you to power to another party is if there is a division in that party. And there is no doubt that there is division in Labour Party. In fact, in Enugu State, some members of the Labour Party who are members of the parliament have defected to PDP in Enugu State. And if care is not taken, the way they are pushing and shoving, Abure may end up presiding over an empty shell. Because when all the people who are elected on the party platform decides to leave for either the ruling party at the center or the main opposition party, you end up starting to rebuild from the scratch. And that means even the revenue, the income that should have come to the party, the members who are elected on the platform of the party is contributing to the party post will cease. They will not get that funding because it's in all the constitution of all political parties that certain percentage of income of the elected members of the party should come to the party to run the party. So what may likely happen is that there may be mass defection of the elected members of the Labour Party across state and national assemblies, as well as even the executive governor of Abia State.
Abia State,
they
yes.
may find solace in another party, and that would be very tragic for Labour Party.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, time will tell. You know, let's fingers crossed. You know, and we'll see what the next action of Julius Abure might be. Of course, to challenge these decisions by INEC, and of course,
he's already in court. He's already in court.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
If you look at that, the INEC also has a senior advocate representing it in court, where it has stated that Abure's tenure has ended, and it doesn't have any locus to preside over the affairs of the party. So, to prevent this protracted litigation, it's best to find a political solution to the problem. But if they dig deep and they go through the process of protracted litigation, they may end up presiding over an empty shell, because many of the members of the elected members may defect out of the party.
Yeah. Again, time will tell. You know, of course, you know, all of these things, you know, are really in their hands to see if there would be a formidable Labour Party in the next 1 year or a completely defeated Labour Party. But we'll see. Jide Ojo, thank you very much for joining us and for sharing your thoughts with us on this very interesting story.
My pleasure. Have a great day.
All right. We've had a pretty interesting hour here. Let's share with you a recap of some of the things that we've spoken about so far, and also what comes up right next. Yes. In Lagos State, residents say no going back, or rather, the Lagos State government says no going back on boarding school fees hike. And of course, Julius Abure, no longer Labour Party chairman, says INEC. We also, of course, shared about Abuja residents and their concerns with earth tremors that took place in the last 48 hours. But that's not all this morning. I'll share with you what's coming up next on Breakfast Central.
Coming up next, we have the newspaper front pages. We'll be bringing you what they're saying, and we'll have you calling as well when we open the phone lines. And of course, we'll bring you Which Way Nigeria, brought to you by Osalge. And Tinubu signs law establishing small arms control center is another of our top stories. Stay with us.
Welcome back. Now let's take you through the major stories making headlines across Nigeria this morning. You're welcome to call and join the conversation on any of the stories that excites you. We are joined this morning by public affairs analyst Sheson Okwade. Good morning and thanks for joining us.
Yeah, good morning, Olive. Good morning, Osag.
I had hoped you would come in with the national one unity fabric.
The tailor is still working.
Oh, okay.
What are you saying, Agbada or
it's Danshiki.
Danshiki.
It's Danshiki. So that it will serve as the bridge between Agbada and...
okay.
When you consider the cost of oil, you have to now maintain everything.
Okay. You better have a nice cap as well.
No, we'll sew face cap with it.
Okay.
Ah, wow. What a fashion reinvention.
All right, let's get into the newspapers this morning. They should be on your screen in just a few seconds. We're going to start with the Nation newspapers. Big one there says, end banditry now. Danjuma tells service chiefs. Ribadu, arms control law operational. Why insecurity persists by Interior Minister. And also this morning, Rivers PDP elders tackle Adad George for attacking Wike. That's on page 4 of the Nation this morning. We can also find here, Tinubu signed peace accord. Presidency counters Kuka. 99 illegal refineries found and 35 oil thieves held in 1 week. I think these are the major stories that we can find this morning. Oh, just to remind everyone, I think this is also a big story because we're talking about flood in different parts of the country. Cameroon begins release of water from Lagdo Dam.
In fact, when I saw that one, I said, not again. We'll come back to that story. Let's head to the next paper. The next paper this morning is the Punch newspaper. On the front page of the Punch newspaper, big story, governorship poll. 35,000 cops arrive Edo as joint forces begin patrol. Recall that the Inspector General of Police had talked about deploying 35,000 cops, even though the governor of the state was against it, saying that they have their own state security and all the likes. Military, NSCDC, EFCC personnel, backup police team, INEC tracks ballot boxes movements. Police parade 2,740 suspected kidnappers and others with 4,087 ammunition rounds. PDP shifts neck, meeting over state Congress crisis. 3 Oyo students remanded for allegedly causing colleagues' death. We've been seeing a lot of these kind of stories lately. Federal government alerts 11 states as Cameroon plans Lagdo Dam release. Executive order, Tinubu eyes $2.5 billion investment. That's the big story that we have this morning on the Punch. Let's head to our next paper.
All right, away from the Punch this morning. The Daily Trust newspaper says petrol price, NNPC not usurping our powers, says NMDPRA. It is not a regulator and cannot fix prices. Ipman looks out for official notification. Federal government can reduce costs by cutting taxes and deductions, says sources. Onaikon flays federal government's reform, says middle class becoming poor. I did have this argument yesterday that we no longer actually have a middle class. You know, it's either you're rich or you're poor.
I'm rich in Jesus' name.
Well, because you are a chosen. Poverty, who are you?
Please.
Danjuma to service chiefs, no more excuses, end killings now. 4 die, 8 injured in Ogun Road accident. Also on the Daily Trust this morning, federal government issues flood alert as Cameroon opens Lagdo Dam. Federal government to split unity colleges into basic and secondary schools. And also last story, Maiduguri flood, Datata donates 1.5 billion naira, NEDC 3 billion naira to victims. I think we can kick off with the stories on the Punch this morning. The major one, of course, there on your screen is the end banditry and killings now, Danjuma tells service chiefs. It says, we must end banditry, the killings going on now as soon as possible. The responsibility is on your shoulders. No excuses, absolutely no excuses. You can see that on the Nation newspapers this morning as a writer to that main story. So let's probably just start, with that one. How much more encouragement or motivation do the service chiefs need to have in order to end the killings and the banditry and the kidnapping across Nigeria? And is it lack of motivation? Is it lack of ginger, as they would say it in Nigerian terms?
Yeah, thank you very much, sir. I think this coming from Major General Danjuma to me is, I asked myself, is it that the federal government who appoints the service chiefs cannot talk to them and is now being consulted as a consultant to be a motivating factor, being a past military man who understands the basis? not just giving a marching order. I think he should be speaking to them on some of the ways he considered that they would do it better if he's actually in position, because that happens to be his field. You know, this is one of the cardinal issues that we have that is actually impacting on the growth of our economy: insecurity. It's discovered that a lot of people cannot go to their farms. A lot of people cannot travel. I keep telling individuals that gone are those days years back, you can do night traveling in this country. People move 24/7, you know, in Nigeria, but it's a societal mission to consider that now, and it's based on this insecurity. So if the government has called the service chiefs severally to meetings and we are not getting the desired distance, I think the approach of maybe consulting with a former military man who has actually been a minister of defense to assist in charging them up and giving them the right impetus, maybe will work out. But sincerely speaking, we are not getting it right, because we hear about killing. I think late last week, so early this week, we heard about the killing in Kaduna, kidnapping. And so you wake up every day to hear about one killing or the other. If Danjuma, we assist to talk to you, they understand the language, just like we're calling you to come and talk to an individual in the media space. So you understand the terminology. So Mr. President may not have that. He might be using a different approach that those service chiefs may not understand. So let's see what somebody who has the understanding of the deals.
Yeah, but is it realistic to give marching orders when we still have not been able to fix the things that should, you know, make this thing achievable? For example, I think one of the things we're going to be talking about this morning is this new, you know, agency on small arms proliferation. I've continuously argued that if we don't fix the influx of arms into Nigeria, we do not fix our borders, we do not, you know, infuse some level of intelligence and technology into tracking these, you know, criminals, we will just continue to move in circles and never really get to achieve, because none of these guns are produced locally. If you see the guns that are being used by these terrorists and bandits in northern Nigeria, they're not produced locally. They are brought into the country through some means. And it makes it seemingly easy for them, you know, whichever way that they've been getting those guns in. So there's many aspects of the whole process that need to be fixed. So we'll simply give marching orders to these service chiefs. You know, is that realistic if we do not tighten those loopholes?
Yeah, I would say it's realistic. Why do I say that? The loopholes you are considering are not going to be done by you and I. It's still the same service chief, maybe one or two of the departments under them. When you talked about the issue of border, it's being manned by the Controller General, which has to do with issue of immigration, people going out, coming in. When you talked about the issue of arms coming on board, the military are involved because there's part of their department that oversees the activities that is being carried out there. So it's not going to be done by civilian. It's still going to be done by the same set of service chiefs that we have, maybe different departments. So maybe what he's trying to do is that this marching order we've given to you, we've been able to explain some of the areas you need to concentrate on, which we have identified this. You know, I think I read in one of the headlines this morning where several of these people were actually being caught. And I said, you can't be picking boys that are having these things on the street. Why don't you go to the major source? Discontinue the source. Those are the people bringing this thing in. We keep hearing of interception of arms and ammunition by the customs. And I ask, who are the faces behind this act? We've not heard of any being brought to justice. So it's not enough to say you are actually picking somebody who is in custody of ammunition illegally, but speak to those that are actually infiltrating those things into the system. When you discontinue the source, the people that are actually being, because you ask yourself, somebody will go for a robbery and they will tell you that they stole 10 million. And they say they gave him 50. He said, no, they only gave me 50,000, 100,000. You say, so out of so much that were actually being stolen, this is just the percentage that got to you, and it's what risking your life about. So most of the time, we should not go to the people that are actually out there on the street. Go to the main source. When you don't have people to carry out that act, then you see that those things will definitely be minimized, which I support you. We must go to the root, discontinue the source, and we'll see that the level of security will be improved as a nation.
All right. Let's move away from insecurity to talk about safety of the Nigerian citizens. I am talking about safety in terms of flooding. Lately, conversations about flooding have been ongoing ones. The Nation reports on the front page, Cameroon begins release of water from Lagdo Dam. Agency puts rivers, Adamawa, Taraba, Benue, Nasarawa, Kogi, Edo, Delta, Anambra, Bayelsa, and Cross River on the alert. Now, from the details, it says that they started the release even already yesterday. It started on Tuesday, and it will begin to progress for the next 7 days. Federal government made this known in a press statement signed by the Director General, Chief Executive Officer of the Nigeria Hydrological Service Agency, Omar Mohammed. And they said, I mean, for the next 7 days, they're going to be releasing it in bits. It's not going to be as intense. They say that Nigerians should not worry, that right now the water is within safe levels. You know, but they said the dam operators have also indicated that the planned water discharges will be gradual. So do you have any worries or any concerns? Especially because if you look in the past years, we've seen how, not even in the past years, in the most recent time, conversations about, you know, flooding and the dam. And if you remember the 2012, I think the 2012 one was the worst, where we had people's houses submerged in water. Do you have such fears this time?
Yeah, I have my worries. First and foremost, coming to say, they've started the release yesterday, and there no information before now to actually prepare the people concerned. You might feel that the water level is still intact now. If it gets out of proportion, how do people now run within those specific days that you have actually given? I feel there should be this collaboration between countries, which I believe we have. Cameroon is our neighbor. They are more or less like a family to us. Why don't we have this information ahead, a few weeks, months, to prepare the people, and if need be, to actually relocate certain set of people out of the place where they will be? My worries, again, is the states mentioned therein are more of the northern region, and that is the food basket of the nation. When you talked about all this area there, so we are battling insecurity, we are going to be faced with flooding again. So it speaks volume that food scarcity is imminent in this season that we're talking about. These are periods that they should be galvanizing, harvesting, and preparing for another session of food stuff. And we are not getting that. We are talking about flooding. My worries is that beyond people actually being displaced, if this get out of hand, is that we may not be having access to food. And food security is very fundamental. Currently, we know the food inflation rate, and that might actually spiral higher. It's a wake-up call for those areas that are not affected with the vast land they have to start thinking how they will invest more in agriculture.
I mean, it's not just food,
to balance up.
There's food, there's the increase of internally displaced persons, because right now, a number of them, if, we hope it doesn't get out of hand, if it gets out of hand, people will be displaced might be displaced from their homes. It would definitely, you know, increase. And
that's why I said early information would have been a better thing, so that you can move those people. Okay. You can move those people to safe place. And it's part of the things that we're saying, that people should collaborate when issues like this are happening. They've started releasing yesterday. And I can tell you, even though you're saying that the water level is still in safe hands, some areas would have been affected. Yeah. But because the number is not much, we might think that everything is fine. These things should be issues that we'll be hearing. We should be proactive in the areas of managing some of these things, if indeed we have the interest of the citizen that we are leading. The governors of those states, the agency responsible, should have first-hand information, not coming up when the thing has opened. I'm sure the information might be coming when some people have raised alarm in some area that they have been affected, and they will not get to know that, it is the dam that they are actually releasing from Cameroon that is affecting those people.
Oh, well, to be fair, I think they have put out, you know, some warnings in the past. You know, NIMET did put out warnings, yes. There's arguments, you know, as to a role that Nigeria should have played, you know, with regards to Lagdo Dam in the past. Yet I don't know if we have.
Yeah, in the past. But I'm even saying that if that role is actually not being placed, this warning, well, you said it's out there. NIMET has actually put those things out. But how much have we been able to see the collaboration with state government saying, okay, this warning is out. How can we actually move those people? Because this is actually coming, or knowing fully well that they understand the terrain of some of the areas that we're speaking of.
All right.
Well,
I mean, NIMET's warning, I think, was more about rainfall as opposed to...
I guess.
Yeah, as opposed to the dam and the dam.
So if it's rainfall, it's
Yes.
different from dam.
Okay.
And remember, it's dam that actually caused the problem that we have in Maiduguri, not even the rain.
Okay, let's head to the Punch newspaper. I would leave the big story. I'm sure Sagi wants to take that. I want to take a smaller story there. 3 Oyo students remanded for allegedly causing colleagues' death. Now, the reports have it that these 3 students they got into a fight with the deceased and beat him up, and he went home. By the time he got home, complained of body pains. After a while, he died, right? This is one story. In some other cases, we've been seeing a lot of reports in the past few days, weeks, about people, young people, killing other young people. Men, young boys killing girls for ritual purposes. In fact, the most recent one I saw was a little boy, a young boy killing a little boy. So it seems that whilst we are battling insecurity on one hand, I worry about the value of life that the younger generation attach. This might have been maybe not intentional. I don't know what the exact details are. The court will decide on that. But I want you to speak to the incessant killings of young people by other young people that we've been seeing lately.
It speaks volume to our value proposition. We keep saying that every now and then. And when you say about value, you talk to parents. A lot of parents have failed in their responsibility. I know people will say there's so much pressure that we have out there, you can't say parents have failed. But when you don't do what is expected of you as parents to inculcate the value, people wake up, what we even promote on social media, on the terrestrial TV, encourages this younger generation to believe that the route to go is by having blood money, which was things that were of discouragement. People will tell you that they are actually, shooting some of those things to discourage them. But you're actually perpetrating the act. You are teaching them the modus of operandi of how to carry out this. There is an alternative. People have seen, remember there was a time they said in Ogun State, some mothers gathered together and they said the association of fraudsters, Yahoo boys, coming to say, let our children breathe, let them survive. We have lost the value. We run after money. What everybody wakes up to do is that, which vehicle are you using? This person is already. Nobody looks the line of saying, can we go to school? They'll tell you, people are now saying, individuals going to school is mere waste of time. When you have the shortcut, we are not discouraging people. So it speaks to our value. And those value starts from home. Most parents have lost, most people, those days while we are growing up, you bring something not given to you by your parent. You will almost give up. Honestly. But these days, a girl that the mother is staying in one room is coming home with a Corolla, and you are not asking questions.
Or a 15-year-old boy is buying a Mercedes knowing that the parents can't afford it. The parents knowing that they did not give him the money because they can't afford it. They will celebrate.
You are still in school. You are being celebrated, and you will buy houses. So you said you are eating. You are already eating the fruit of your labor that you have not invested in. It speaks to volume, and that's why we take it back to the parent that we must go back to the basics where those. If you take a pencil that do not belong to you. We started this act by saying civilization. When parents will want to correct children in school, and they will say, no, don't beat my child. I know what it actually cost me to bring this child to this level. These are the values that we are losing, and those children are seeing those abnormalities as the norm at which they need to go through. It's not only, if you look at fighting those days, is like, I don't want to do it because this person may actually go into coma. If those things that enters my head while we're growing up is that if I feel like I'm beaten and he ends up beating me and I die, that's the end of it. So when you see fighting, you just like patch off the road and just grow your power. But these days, violence is one of the things that the younger generation have grown up to see, and the value is not just there. So we must go back to the drawing board of parents taking responsibility. Don't let us allow to say the pressure that we are facing economically is what is actually taking some of these things out. Go back to the drawing board. The religious houses, more of prosperity. than what we're saying. You know, I laughed the other time when you say by faith you are rich. If the faith is not, you must work. You must work.
I completely agree with you. We need to start teaching values of hard
Teaching
work,
value,
delayed
hard work,
gratification.
diligence.
If you work now, it doesn't mean that things will happen overnight.
There are certain foundations that you lay, and in the nearest future, you start reaping the fruit of some of those things that we're saying.
Right.
Let's talk about Edo State now. On the Punch, governorship polls, 35,000 cops arrive. Edo as joint forces begin patrol. Military, NSCDC, EFCC personnel, backup police team, INEC tracks ballot boxes movement. Just, you know, I'm not even sure if this should be normal. If we need this level of security just for an election, you know, and you know, the fact that we're even proud, you know, to say this. I remember the IG of police, you know, mentioning 35,000, you know, policemen will be arriving. I mean, if we're even proud to say it, that we need this level of security personnel just for an election.
It's worrisome, Osag, if you ask me. And it speaks volume of the way the main actors in this political space are actually managing information. The one that interests me was the last rider you read, that INEC said they are tracking the ballot boxes.
Yeah.
If indeed that is functional, then we don't need so much of security apparatus. Steal it, we'll track it. Just the same way you can use your IAM to track your phone. If indeed the tracking device is functional, that means you are introducing technology into this. But one thing we have known is that in time past, we have actually introduced technology that has failed, that made people to have lost so much confidence in INEC. So if you are saying you are bringing so much security apparatus as high as that just for a state, so what becomes of it? We should start looking at how we can use this standalone election to correct some of the anomalies that we have, not pumping in so much security actors. And how do we address the state actors, the politicians, the followers, that it's not, if indeed it's about service, of which is proven to the whole world that when you are a politician, it's not service to humanity. It's about what you can gain for yourself, and that's why everybody is making it a do or die affair. But it's happening that over 35,000 people will be mobilized for this election with other security apparatus just for a state. So if you are going to have like 10 states, that means you multiply 35 by 10. Do we have as much as that personnel to even govern, to police us as a nation? So we should start looking in that area to see how much can we do to actually discredit this aspect of violence, this aspect of ballot snatching, this aspect of actually people killing themselves for what is not. How many of the people that have been caught in time past perpetrating this act that has been punished to serve as deterrent to others to perpetrate that act? Those are areas we should be looking at. I'm really not too happy that 35,000 of the police force will be in there. That enough will bring tension to the electorate that wants to. You might think that you're actually boosting their confidence. You say everywhere is secure. You can see everywhere being flooded by the police. But those that have good intention to come, they will come. See, you can see police everywhere. Majority of them, when was the last time they saw a policeman in their vicinity? Now you're seeing about 10, 20, you know, all because of election in your area. I feel, by my own personal perspective, it will create more tension than the relief you feel that you want to give. We should speak more to the major actors, which are the politicians who incite people because of the gain. If it is about service, there should be collaboration. If anybody is winning, if you win, extend that hand of grace. But we've not sent that. Played out in all those things. They refuse to sign the peace accord, and that speaks that anything that happens, just let's take it by faith.
Again, it really just still paints a picture of where we are. You know, if every election cycle, you know, you need to bring people together to sign a peace accord. You know, when you would expect that it should be just, you know, normal sense. You know that, you know,
even with the peace accord, does that guarantee peace?
Anything, nope. You know, the PDP candidate, or governor rather, in Edo State, I remember him being quoted, but you know, saying that this election is a do or die affair. Those type of utterances do not help. You know, but like you said, the 35,000 policemen has not ever stopped violence in.
You will still hear of killing
elections
on Saturday.
Not just killing. You know, the snatching of ballot boxes, the, you know, bullying people and chasing them away from polling units. Those things, almost always happen. In the 2023 elections, the amount of policemen that the police, said that they were deploying, they didn't stop the violence that was seen in Lagos and in many other places, across the country. So it has never really brought any, made any difference, really.
And also to interject you, you see, the other party is considering the mobilization of this police force to work against them. So you are not having that unity among everyone. If you are deploying as much as this, there should be an understanding among the political parties that, okay, it's for the safety of everyone to make sure that we have good election. But the other party are already considering it that you're actually mobilizing that much to oppress a particular party so that you can always have your way. And that are areas that we must address pre-election. So that you go with less than 5,000 people, or you even make use of the police apparatus that you have in that state. So if you are mobilizing as much as this for election, that's to speak volume that we have less people policing that state. And that's why we've said, let state policing commence so that you can give room, so that you understand the terrain. A lot of people that you are bringing them do not even understand the terrain of the area where you are mobilizing them to for the exercise. Yeah. And that might be confusing, but with the state policing, everybody can guard and do what is needful, and we'll all be better off for it.
Yeah. I just know that there's still a lot of fine-tuning that needs to be done with our electoral process, and the way that elections are held in Nigeria. Let's get to a place where people understand that it is, it's useless. If you disrupt a polling unit,
election.
Exactly. It wouldn't change anything. It wouldn't change the result.
And that's when you introduce technology.
Exactly. Let's get there. Quickly enough. Mr. Kwande, thank you very much for stopping by and for sharing your thoughts with us.
Always a great day to start the midweek with you.
All right. We'll go on a very short break. When we come back, we have Which Way Nigeria coming up next. Remember, we still have other conversations, so stay tuned.
Ladies and gentlemen, there's many things that are confusing about where we are today as a nation. More than a year post-inauguration of the current government in Nigeria, and it is quite a popular opinion that we still don't know where we're headed. Nigerians are confused about where we are today, our current economic realities, and almost zero clarity as to what comes next. You can't even tell where the next 6 months will be. Food prices are the highest that they've ever been. Petrol price equally the highest it's ever been in our history. The cost of goods and services, transportation costs, the cost of running even small businesses, completely over the roof. But to make matters worse, we have a government in power that seems very disconnected and on a different frequency from the average Nigerian. Nigerians are begging for food to eat. Go online and you can find university students begging for support to pay school fees. Parents are at home depressed with home bills that need to be paid. Mothers are struggling. Businessmen and women are frustrated. But our government, again, seems very out of touch. They keep encouraging Nigerians to endure just a little while, but unfortunately, the government itself seems to be doing the opposite. A few weeks ago, I saw the report on The Punch, sharing how the First Lady, had spent more than 700 million naira on foreign trips. Nigerians are struggling to stay afloat, but the First Lady is showing off a small farm in Aso Rock or launching the new Unity fabric. If you look at the streets around you, there has never been this kind of visible hunger across Nigeria before. Just look across Lagos and see the amount of young Nigerians, young kids running across the streets begging for food. The NBS, of course, yesterday said that the inflation has dropped to 32.15%, but those statistics mean absolutely nothing to the average Nigerian when he steps out daily to earn a living and survive. The refinery that the previous government and this one promised Nigerians will ease the cost of petrol, make things easier, has finally launched. And unfortunately, is expected to sell petrol even higher than before. Our own refinery, the Port Harcourt refinery that we've been sinking billions of naira in repairs, is still not working and may never actually work again. So basically, there doesn't seem to be anything really to hope for in the near future. And of course, we'll join voices with those who are asking, what's the use of the unity fabric? What was also the use of changing the national anthem? None of these things are on the top 10,000 wishes or needs of the average Nigerian. There is intense hunger in the country, Mr. President. The reasons Nigerians may not be united is not because they don't have the right national anthem or the right national fabric or ashwebi. Like we said earlier in the day, there's a time for everything, and really now is not the time for a unity fabric. Many Nigerians are asking, what is going on in our country and where are we headed? Can the current administration provide some level of clarity to at least comfort Nigerians and let us know that we're on the right path? Because as it seems, we seem to be very, very confused as to where we're headed. Good morning, Nigerians.
President Bola Tinubu has signed a bill establishing the National Center for the Control of Small Arms and Light Weapons, marking a significant milestone in Nigeria's fight against illegal arms proliferation. This move was announced by National Security Adviser Nuhu Ribadu at a workshop in Abuja.
Now, while the National Center for the Control of Small Arms and Light Weapons was already operational, the signing of this bill provides legislative backing, bolstering the center's mandate and enabling more coordinated and decisive action. According to the National Security Advisor, the center will focus on addressing the illegal flow of small arms and light weapons, which has devastating consequences, including fueling violence, instability, and insecurity globally. Its efforts will be guided by international frameworks such as the United Nations Security Council Resolution 1325 and the ECOWAS Convention on Small Arms and Light Weapons. Now, joining us is the Chief Executive Officer of Security Watch Africa Initiative, Patrick Agbambu. Good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning. Thank you.
All right. The National Center for Control of Small Arms and Light Weapons has been established since May 2021, so it's not new. What do you think is the relevance of what the president has just done, and what do you think should be their mandate?
Yeah, thank you again. I must agree here that this is one of the best steps taken so far by the current administration towards providing security for Nigerians, because it's quite significant because illegal arms have been one of the more factors that had fueled criminality in our country, have fueled criminal violent crimes and terrorism and insurgency, and now giving them the marching order, the power to act. Yes, like you said, since 2021, they have been operating. The former government set it up and the bill was passed this year. And today we can say that we have an authentic center as suggested and as approved by the ECOWAS heads of government, encouraging member states to get a national center that will help to control the flow of illicit arms across the Sahel and the West African sub-region. So it's a very good move by the government. We must commend this effort. And like you said, it has a lot of roles to play because when we take these arms from the wrong hands, it will help to, it will weaken the potency of these violent criminals from causing mayhem in the society. So I must say that every Nigerian should be happy with this, and we should encourage them and ensure that they do what the bill has prescribed, the act has prescribed for them to do.
Yeah, I mean, I did also read through the report, and of course I heard what the NSA said. the directives, that has been given, and of course, what they expect to happen. But, what I'm trying to understand is, so if you look at Nigeria's current issue with proliferation of small arms, I spoke, just a few minutes ago about the influx of arms into Nigeria, into the hands of bandits and terrorists, and of course, none of the guns or the weapons that they're using are locally produced. They, of course, are smuggled in. What would you say is our biggest loophole in proliferation of small arms into Nigeria? Is it the porous borders? Is it, our waterways? Is it bribery and corruption? Where exactly do you think the major issue is?
Yeah, thank you. Our borders, of course, our borders are very porous. Over 1,000 illegal borders scattered across the country, and this has helped for criminals to bring in a lot of things, including arms. But for me, from my own study, Security Watch Africa did a study on this. We can tell you that the large chunk of these illicit arms coming to the country through the sea, through the waterways. We have so many creeks that opens up. They don't come in through the seaports, but they come in through the illegal waterways and creeks and jetties that we have within the water areas, and they come with lots in a large quantity. And this it's something that the National Center will have to spread their tentacles towards those regions where we have waterways, not just only in the Niger Delta area, some parts of the northern area where we have the waters via the Lake Chad, via so many areas. So a lot still have to be done. If we concentrate on what is coming from the land, then we may not actually achieve any meaningful result in this. We need to shift efforts now while we're doing the land, shift to these illegal creeks and waterways that have become the main point of bringing in these illicit arms. That we can do. Of course, you can't rule away some connivance, maybe then linked to corruption by some people who would look away when they are given some little incentives. I believe that the Defense Headquarters they are collaborating with the center, and they will intensify to ensure that any officer, whether you are in the armed forces or in the civil police, who encourages illegal movement of arms into the country will be penalized. I believe they will do so now that the power is being given for everybody to come together and act. So those are the two major things that has to be done if we must get this straight.
All right, let's look at some of the gains of this organization, some of the achievements. There is the retrieval of illegal arms, recovering of 544 firearms and 112,500 rounds of cartridges from the Nigerian Customs Service. There's also the prosecution of suspects. 10 suspects involved in illicit importation are being prosecuted. There's arms destruction exercise, and there are plans to conduct an exercise to permanently remove recovered arms from circulation. So these are some of them, some of the achievements, that they have. But when we talk about the fight against insecurity, sometimes it feels like these wins have not translated. The average Nigerians will still largely argue that insecurity is fighting back and we're not winning the war against insecurity. So would you say that it's because, how are we not translating the message of their wins downwards? Or would you say that it's not yet reflecting, maybe because it's not yet on a large scale, their progress report so far?
You see, I'll tell you that there have been some great wins experienced in the fight against security in the country. Yes, we have challenges, it's there. Insecurity and security, it's something that you can't draw a line because when there is security, many people will not talk about it. Well, it's only when there is insecurity that people will talk about it. Of course, we know that there's a responsibility of everybody wants to be alive. And so when that life is threatened, then they will cry out. But again, there are lots of successes that have been achieved because if you take away what has been achieved, then I think this country will have been totally a failed state, like has been predicted so many times. So many forces are working against getting Nigerians to live a happy life, to live in peace, and that is what they don't get tired. So while the security forces and Nigerians are battling to checkmate what they are doing, they're also inventing and innovating means to continue with their nefarious acts. So I believe that the gains that have been achieved must be sank to Nigerians. Yes, the media management system of both the government and all, they have not been so effective to actually tell Nigerians what has been done. And you see, when you tell them what has been achieved, then they will be encouraged to support you. But when you keep quiet, then they believe that nothing is being done. That is why you're not saying anything. And so if we must get Nigerians to buy into this fight of against criminalities, against the illicit proliferation of firearms, then we must tell them what has been achieved so far and what is our aspiration and how they can come together and collaborate with the agency or whoever government establishment that is concerned, so that they can be able to work in synergy. If you don't, if you ignore telling Nigerians what is happening, what you are doing, then of course the propaganda of these criminals, of these evil ones, will be what the people will believe, and that is what they will take. So a lot has to be done to be able to convince Nigerians that so much has been achieved. But as I see it today, nothing is being done that much in terms of information management. And so propaganda flows all around, and Nigerians are disheartened. Nigerians feel despair because they don't believe that anybody is doing anything.
Let's first of all, no longer first of all, but let's also, clarify exactly what are small arms and light weapons. When we see the customs seizing pump-action rifles and AK-47 rifles, are those regarded as small arms or light weapons?
Yes, you see, small arms and light weapons, the agency that licensed the use of firearms in Nigeria is the Nigeria Police Force, and they only give license for gaming and hunting, and those are not too dangerous of a weapon. It's what we in the local parlor some people call shakabula and all that. But when you carry pump action, it's illicit, it's against the laws. You should not carry it. When you carry pistol, whatever caliber of the pistols is against the law. And so talk less of carrying assault rifles, carrying AK-47s and submachine guns like you see some people using, and several arms that they are brandishing. The only arm that can be licensed is those hunting guns, not even the pump action, which you see some people brandish in some states in the country and without license. I believe that a lot still needs to be done. But when you ask these people, they say the state governments gave it to them, and they are not being controlled by any of the government agencies. So Nigerians must understand that this is the caliber of arms they should apply for license. Yeah. And if it's not given to you, don't keep it in your homes, because a team could go around and start confiscating and arresting people for ignorantly keeping arms that they're not supposed to keep.
Yeah, absolutely. And, of course, nobody wants that. But obviously, we need to clean up the system a lot. I like, that we started the conversation talking about our porous borders. No nation that wants to stop the smuggling of arms leaves its borders that porous. And if you're talking about 1,000, borders that are open across the country, you're almost never going to achieve any headway by setting up multiple agencies if you do not start there, including the waterways as well. Smuggling is one of the biggest pathways through which these weapons come into Nigeria. Before we go, quickly share your thoughts on Bello Turji. He is one of the most popular bandits or terrorists, currently. The Nigerian army has promised that he will be captured. But of course, this promise has been on, for many, many months now. Where do you think we are with the fight against insurgency? Have there been any improvements that you've noticed? Are we getting there? Or, are we, of course, continuing in the same dance that we've been in for the last 10 years?
Yeah, I will tell you that the days of Bello Tuji is numbered. He has crossed the line several times, and with the Chief of Defense Staff heading and monitoring the operations to make sure that the Northwest is kept safe. I tell you that the results will come in. It's not only just Bello Tuji. Any other person, any other bandits that have been causing problems for Nigerians must either give up, because in a few months, weeks from now, we should be seeing the end of these people. I tell you, I just got back yesterday from the Northwest, particularly I was in Borno State and the environment. It's so peaceful, and apart from the natural disaster that took place that has been taken care of, sadly, but you can see the peace have returned. That victory will be replicated very soon in the Northwest and across the country if efforts is put together and government support security agencies, because that is where I must stress now. Right. The security agencies need a lot of support from the government itself and from Nigerians. It's not about saying it or condemning them. You must be able to support them with actionable intelligence, with resources that is needed so that they can carry out this mission that has been assigned to them.
Okay, I will just keep watching to see how this bill impacts the work that is being done in the fight against insecurity. Thank you very much for your time with us this morning. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you so much.
We've come to the end of the show. Thank you very much for joining us. We'll be back again same time tomorrow. Remember to continue the conversations with us on X and all social media platforms at News Central TV. Until we come your way again, I am Olive Emodi.
And just before we go, I want to just quickly read out, because I remember that we said you could tweet at us at any time during the show. So we got a tweet from Mr. Oshoti. It says, my opinion, if the federal government wants to establish National Center for Arms Control, they should start with the politicians who arm their foot soldiers, then the northern part followed by the southeast, then gradually every region. Just, of course, to recognize you. Thank you very much for your tweet and for tweeting at us this morning. I am Osaogi Ogbawa. We'll see you tomorrow.